Well, hello guys. I don't know, jinxed it last week, I guess. I sat here talking about the Old Dominion weekend and walked out of my office, and 15 minutes later, there was no longer an Old Dominion weekend. And so, such is the life of COVID, I guess. But we're excited to have an opportunity to play again this weekend, especially with so much going on, across the country with COVID and the weather and all that. I know so many things have been postponed and canceled. And so we feel fortunate to be on the brink of playing again and are looking forward to playing a really good Charlotte team.
Coach, this is Jared with the Daily News. You kind of mentioned it, didn't play last weekend. I don't know how much work you guys were all able to get in this week with the weather and stuff and getting to the gym. But this is a Charlotte team. You guys are the top two teams in CUSA East, and statistically, it looks like they're one of the top teams in the conference. All things considered, would you say this is your biggest test of the season so far?
Yeah, I don't think there's any question, Jared. This Charlotte team is a legit, contender in this league. They're very well coached every year. They play really, really hard, and they had some good pieces a year ago. And they've added a kid in Amani Foster who gives them a chance every night. She's a really, really talented offensive player and is going to be a force in this league for years to come. And, to win at the highest level, you got to have somebody you can lean on. And she certainly looks like she's one of those type of players. And so we know the challenge is great. They got our attention from the first time I threw some film on and started watching it. And, our players are looking forward to the challenge, and we've had a good week in preparation and are looking forward to hopefully playing some high level matches.
Coach, this is Hunter Smith with WBKO. So what were you all able to do practice wise for this past week?
Wing it. We were able to wing it every day. Literally the evening before we were making plans for the next day. We had to shorten some things. We had to cancel some things. But we were able to get in work as well. Obviously with the COVID protocols, we're not at full strength, in our gym every day. And so, we decided when this began back in January that every week, whatever challenges came our way, we would just roll with those challenges. And that's what the name of the game is right now, right? It can either be your excuse to not get something accomplished, or it can just kind of raise the stakes on how high level a challenge you have for the week. And that's the way we've approached this one.
Coach Jared with the Daily News again. You mentioned Foster. She's leading the league in kills this season so far. What is it about her game? I know you said she's a great offensive player, but what is it about what she does that makes her so good, do you think? And what's it going to take to try to slow her down?
Well, she's really, really gifted physically, She plays high. Again, I say this a lot. Our sport is different than most sports. When you have a kid like that, you can't double team them and take the ball away from them. You can't double cover a receiver. You can't play a zone defense. There's a big net standing there between both of us. And so they can get her the ball as much as they want. And you have to just sit down and try to defend it. And, she's the thing that jumps out initially is she's just so spectacular athletically. She's one of the best athletes I've seen in this league in a while. But she's more than that. She's got a pretty advanced game to be such a young kid. And, for her to be an outside hitter hitting over 300, 10 or so matches into this year, she's more than just an athlete. She's got some game, and she's going to be a problem. And they're more than her. I mean, Sydney Rowan, the other outside for them, has put up, really, really good numbers and has been a good player in this league. And so, this is going to put, offensively, we're the number one team in the country right now in hitting percentage, and offensively, I like who we are. But the thing that I've liked more than anything else is who we've been defensively. And this weekend, we get to really try to take that challenge on that side of the ball and see if we can get a really talented Charlotte team stopped.
Hey, Travis, it's Dominique. To go back to your tweet about all these teams in the state, Kentucky, Western, and Louisville, in the top 20, the only state in Kentucky that has that many. I guess what does that say about the growth and the progression of volleyball and just the high level that's being played here in the state of Kentucky?
Yeah, it's something I take a lot of pride in, Dominique, because, I've always tried to see a bigger picture than just my own. And, when you look at the fact, the state of Kentucky, we're not talking about California with all the option, all the schools that are out there and all the volleyball on the West Coast, or the state of Texas. We're talking about the state of Kentucky, which has always, rightly been known as a basketball state. But, we have 3 top 20 teams in the country, in the state of Kentucky right now. And I think it speaks to the ground roots of the sport here in the state. I think it speaks to how the game's being played at the high school level. I think it speaks to the coaching that's going on throughout the state. And maybe as much as anything, I think the thing that's changed the most in the last 5 years or so is I think it speaks to the interest in the sport at all levels in the state. We've had some pretty, just here in our program, we've had 2 matches in the last few years. In the NCAA tournament, we played Kentucky a few years ago in what was one of the more memorable matches in NCAA tournament, recent NCAA tournament history. And it happened between 2 Kentucky schools. And then, to have Louisville down here and to have 5,000 people in Diddle Arena to watch a volleyball match last year between 2 Kentucky schools. I think it just speaks to, the interest level that's really in this state beyond just the people that are playing it. I think it's a sport that fans are really starting to take notice of. And I think it's 3 programs that are all, that have been built with a lot of Kentucky kids on their rosters through the year. And certainly, probably there won't be many years that go by that all 3 of us won't have some Kentucky kids on a current roster. So it's a lot of layers to it. And it's something that I think that all 3 programs and everybody else that's associated with the game in the state should be proud of.
Yeah, that kind of goes back to a point that Craig and Danny, they made similar points to just the growth in just really a short amount of time. Are you even able to put into words about where it was 26 years ago to this point in 2021?
It's incredible. Maybe more so here in Bowling Green than anywhere else, because, they've had really high level volleyball in Louisville for a lot of years. In Kentucky and Northern Kentucky, they've had good volleyball for many years. But when I started coaching here 25 years ago, there was no high school volleyball here, not even high school volleyball. And I remember the first camps we ever had here. I think my first camp, we had 9 kids. And, the first time a ball was flying towards the out of bounds, the kids ran over to the sideline and stopped because they didn't think they could go out of bounds, just like in the sport of basketball. And it's just remarkable, and it's bigger than the 3 programs that are maybe being seen right now in the top 20. It's a grassroots effort all across the state of just day by day growth. And I think a lot of people should take pride in it.
Hey, Lauren, this is Jared with the Daily News here. The first question I asked Travis was, about this being the biggest challenge of the season. And it seems like it would be, being off last weekend. And then it sounded like you guys were kind of winging it in practice this week with whatever you could do with the weather and whatnot. But this is a Charlotte team that it seems like they're very good. You guys are the top 2 teams in CUSA East. What kind of challenge does this present for you guys this weekend? And what kind of opportunities does this present to you guys?
I think it'll be a challenge for us defense-wise. So for us to maintain our, what's the word? Maintain our composure and continue to do what we've been doing. Because I think defensively we've been pretty good, especially in bad situations. So it'll prove to us what we can do defensively.
And, kind of going off of that, Coach talked a little bit about their offense and how good they are. And, he talked about the Foster girl that they have. She leads the conference and kills at this point. What is it about them offensively that, presents the biggest challenges, do you think?
I think offensively, they're a pretty physical team. So it's up to us to continue with our technique and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and avoid the blocks because, like I just said, they're a pretty physical team. So that'll be the challenge.
Hey, Lauren, this is Hunter Smith from WBKO. What this past week was kind of the focus and what were you guys able to do? Coach Hudson said you were kind of winging it every single day.
Yeah, this week our focus has been serving. So first contact and blocking because of the freshman from Charlotte. She's pretty good. So she's going to be one of our main priorities to stop this weekend.
And, for you guys, obviously you're a good offensive team too, lead the country in hitting percentage and whatnot. Are you worried at all that, having a weekend off, not being able to play consistently in matches all on the same side of the net can kind of disrupt that flow? Or do you feel like your experience is kind of the key in that?
Yes, I feel like our experience is the key, and that's what is going to help us this weekend. Also, our practices have been pretty consistent with the weather and stuff, so I think we'll be fine. It'll mostly be mental.
Hey, Katie. This is Jared McDonald with the Daily News here in Bowling Green. You guys weren't able to play last weekend. There was some weather. It sounded like you guys were able to get practice, but it was kind of, Coach said winging it every day, just what you guys were able to do. This is a Charlotte team. You guys are the top two teams in CUSA East. They're a good offensive team. Would you say this is the biggest challenge you guys have faced yet this season, just all things considered?
Yeah, definitely the biggest challenge. Charlotte's obviously, in the top 3 in all categories in the league, with us, Rice, and Charlotte. And so they definitely present the biggest challenge thus far. And maybe like ever who we play in the league so far as our schedule. But yeah, as well as, not being able to play this weekend, I think you would think that might be, I guess, a roadblock for us. But I think that we're always expecting something, or wanting to be ready for something like that to go wrong. So every time we do get to play, it's more of an opportunity. And so I think we'll be okay.
Hey, Katie, this is Hunter Smith with WBKO. What's kind of been the emphasis this past week of practice preparing for Charlotte?
This past week, we kind of have really shifted over the past few weeks, really, from focusing more on ourselves into the other team, I guess, in a way. So definitely just defending them has been the biggest focus. They have a really good outside Foster, who Travis talked about, and other offensive players. I mean, they're just a big physical team. So we've been working a lot on serving and blocking and defense. Yeah, so that's what we've been working on.
You mentioned the serving. That's something Coach has talked a lot about these last few weeks specifically.
Yeah.
As a whole, as this team, seeing everybody serve, I guess, how would you evaluate the improvements you guys have been able to make these past few weeks, and where do you think that part of the whole team's game is at instead of maybe just one or two people?
Yeah, I think we've made like a lot of progress over the last couple of weeks. I mean, that's been a big emphasis. It always is an emphasis from Travis and our program. But really in practice, we've been working on it a lot more. And I think it really is the key to disrupt teams, especially if they're, have really good offensive talents. That's one of the best ways to disrupt them, get them out of system and things like that. So, yeah.
And Katie, is there an area where you're kind of maybe hoping the team takes a big step forward this weekend?
I think the big step forward that we could take this weekend is definitely just locking down defensively. I think offensively, we're playing at a pretty high level right now, and we need to maintain that. And there are still improvements that we need to make offensively, but definitely defensively, digs and blocks and serving. Those 3 things, if we can really hone in on those 3 things, that's definitely a step forward.